There's no way in hell, if you're high, you're throwing your pecan pie at somebody. You are eating that thing.
Welcome to the Lions of Liberty podcast. Here is your host, your guide, your shining beacon of liberty, Marc Clair.
Welcome back, guys, to the Lions of Liberty podcast, episode number 129. If you want to find out more about the things you're going to hear in today's episode, I'd like to invite you to our show notes page at lionsofliberty.com/129. And guys, political season is underway. There's no better time to make sure you are fully decked out in Liberty gear, which you can have so applied to you by our good friends at libertymaniacs.com, your home for all sorts of political and satirical gear, t-shirts, mugs, bumper stickers, you name it, and you can receive 10% off your entire order as a listener of this program by using the referral code Lions of Liberty at checkout. And if you're anything like me, and you're just fed up with dealing with health insurance companies, fed up with being mandated to purchase health insurance, well, guess what? There is an alternative, and it is completely legal, and it is much more palatable, both financially and to your Liberty soul. That is, of course, the package put together by our great sponsors at Health Excellence Select. To find out more about this exciting alternative, head over to lionsofliberty.com/health. And now that I've got the business out of the way, we can really get to business. And this is, of course, no ordinary episode. It's been a while, but we are back here with another edition of
the Felony Report.
The Felony Report, that's right. And of course, I can't do the Felony Report all on my own. I barely know anything about felonies. I'm so damn goody two-shoes. But I do have an expert on felonies here with me. He is, of course, the author of the weekly Felony Friday and co-host of this very program, the Felony Report, John Odermatt. Welcome back.
What's up, Mark? Great to be back with you.
I would hope so, and you know, I know it's been probably, this might be the longest gap it's been for us between Felony Reports, and you know, we've you know, we're normal people. I don't know if you guys believe that. We don't just devote 24/7 of our day and week to Liberty. I've been working a ton lately, and Odie here took a little vacation recently, so you should be all rested up and really ready to tackle this stuff, huh?
Yeah, rested up, or maybe a little bit, flaked out, based on getting a little bit too much sun over vacation and whatnot.
Vacation can do that to you. It can be hard to kind of get back in the mix when you're just...
Yeah, I'm trying my hardest to get back in the swing of things, but we'll see. This is a good way to jump back in and reacclimate myself to a little bit of liberty.
There you go. Now, did you, who were you on vacation with? The family, I suppose?
Yeah, with the family, with my mom and dad, brother and sister, and their families, and they have lots of kids between them. So there were kids between the ages of 9 all the way down to a newborn, and all in between. So it was awesome. It was loud, waking up in the morning hearing 3-year-olds screaming. I woke up this morning, it was silent. It was kind of nice. But as you know, Mark, my wife and I are expecting our own child here soon. So.
Yeah, so don't get used to the silence.
Exactly.
How many of your family members on vacation with you are felons? I'm just kidding. You don't have to answer that.
Zero, I think.
But it's very possible that everyone that was on vacation with you, except maybe the youngest of young kids, has committed a felony at some point, because felonies are so freaking common. I mean, there's that book, which I got to look into a little bit more, but it's that phrase that they say we commit 3 felonies a day because there are so many laws on the books that people commit felonies just going about their daily business all the time. Not saying that your family is any more prone to felonies than other families, but...
What are you trying to say here? Well, but that is a book, 3 felonies a day. I've been meaning to pick that up, and I will make a note to read that. Maybe we can talk about it on a later episode here.
Hey, Felony Report book review, perhaps.
There you go.
Or maybe we can do a special edition of the Felony Report where we speak with the author of that book.
That would be even cooler.
Try to plug at some point since I have no idea who wrote it right now, but we'll get to that later. So, it's actually Harry Silvergate. Harry Silvergate, everybody. Way back in 2011, he put this book out, 3 felonies a day.
That's a great name. You gotta love that. Wow.
It is. It's a great title, a great author name. I mean, I'm already sold. So we're definitely going to look into that book. Kindle version is only $10.49, everybody. Just to point that out. If you want to do some homework and get ahead in your reading before we do this episode that we're talking about here.
And if you buy it on Amazon.com, you can use our links on lionsofliberty.com as well.
There you go. Go over to our website, click on the little Amazon banner on the right-hand side of your column, purchase this book, and we'll get, 15 cents from it?
If we're lucky.
But that 15 cents will go directly back into producing more of these shows. Now... like I said, it's been a little while since we've done this thing, so we're going to tick back the clock a little bit. Back to this, you wrote an article about the Charleston incident, where this gentleman, I guess we shouldn't call him a gentleman, Dylan Roof, shot up a church, a predominantly black church, and obviously this stoked a lot of flames for very good reason, not just about the gun control debate, and of course, whenever there's a big shooting like this, you're going to expect the gun control debate to heat up again, but, racially, the Confederate flag stuff all stemmed from this. It's really set off a lot of sparks among people, and obviously, whenever there's a huge tragedy like this, emotional strings are going to be pulled. So what was your first reaction upon seeing this case here, this shooting in Charleston? Did you have an inkling that this might be something you'd end up writing about even before a lot of the news came out?
Yeah. One of the earlier news reports I read talked about this guy, this dirtbag. That's what Larry Pratt called him, one of your previous guests. I like that name for him. This dirtbag had a previous run-in with the law. He was previously charged with a felony. Actually, it was a felony for he had some drugs on him when he was shoplifting, and he hadn't been convicted or gone to trial or anything yet, but he had the charges. And with those charges in the state of South Carolina, he shouldn't have been allowed to get a gun as it was.
That's really interesting, actually. Let's just pause there for a minute, because that's something I never really think about when we talk about, felonies and how people that are convicted of felonies lose so many rights, including voting, gun rights. But this is a case, obviously, in retrospect, we can all say this guy probably shouldn't have a weapon. He's a dangerous guy. We know that now. But if you just look at that law that says you can't even have the weapon, you can't even purchase a gun if you even have charges pending, which, I don't know, to me, that's kind of punishing someone before they've been found guilty of anything. And obviously, I don't necessarily want to apply this to Dylan Roof, but I'm sure there are many people out there with pending charges that is preventing them from owning a weapon.
That's a great point. I'm not necessarily saying, I'm not saying at all that I agree with the way the law is. I'm just saying the way the law is structured right now, he shouldn't have been able to get a gun, and the law failed. And that in itself, I think, proves that gun control in this instance definitely did not work. It's not hard to see. This guy that was supposedly not able to get a firearm because of his previous felony was able to get a firearm. And then, of course, I wrote this article before the stuff came out about the FBI background check failure to catch the I guess they call it the loophole, the felon loophole. And now since then, there's been legislators in South Carolina that have called for the closing of the loophole, which the loophole is if so many days pass before the FBI gets back to the gun shop owner, then the gun shop is allowed to proceed with the transaction. And lawmakers have called for closing this loophole. But I'm not in favor for necessarily closing the loophole per se. The way, in my article, the way to look at this is Dylan Roof, even if he was stopped and there was a loophole and he was not able to get a firearm legally, I guess, he still could have got one illegally. This is a very sick, mentally ill human being, a dirtbag who was hell-bent on murdering people. And who's to say that he wouldn't have gone to the black market and gotten a gun illegally? So even if the loophole was closed, this tragedy still could have occurred.
Or he could have gotten some dynamite, could have gotten a couple machetes, and obviously a gun's a little easier to use than a machete, but point being, there are many, many ways to kill people, even if you can't get your hands on a gun, and it's clear from this loophole and even just the laws in general. I know there are many people on the streets that are holding guns that didn't buy them at the store and didn't get a background check. So you see here this argument, gun control doesn't work, and we say it all the time, and you're saying it in this article, and I think in our current context, you're totally right. In a society that has guns, there's no way you can just sort of put little rules on some people and expect them, the truly crazy people, the true criminals that really do not care for human life and obviously don't care about petty laws, they're not going to be stopped from getting a gun. There is a way, I think, you could have gun control be effective, and that is by just a full sort of Maoist or Hitler-esque just clampdown. Literally deprive the streets of guns altogether, take them from every household. That's probably not going to be possible in the United States with the level of support for the Second Amendment in this country, thankfully. But if you really did take all the guns from citizens, you probably would have less gun crime, don't you think?
Was it Karl Rove? Yeah, Karl Rove said that. I think a couple weeks ago. He said something to the effect of, the only way to really lessen gun crime in this country is to repeal the Second Amendment. So something like that.
And he's probably right in reality. But I mean, you can also make that same argument that Ron Paul made in a debate. We can prevent all crime. We can prevent spousal abuse by keeping a police officer in every home. You'll never see it again. We'll also have no privacy whatsoever, and you're going to infringe on the rights of millions of people. So to me, the term work can be, can kind of be manipulated however people want. But
exactly.
But what we really need to look at, and what you do look at, of course, and what we always look at here, is whose rights are being violated, and just the idea of removing guns from people. Well, that's going to violate a heck of a lot of rights of people, a lot more than just maybe having some more sane sort of laws about this stuff, or non-laws, I guess I should say, sane policies about guns. And to me, a sane policy is one that doesn't arbitrarily restrict the purchase of guns from normal, everyday people, which is still, despite all the hype, despite all the hoopla, gun crimes are a lot lower than even 20 years ago. So the fact of the matter is, the vast majority of gun owners are responsible, are abiding by the law. I mean, I waited through a 10-day period to get my gun out here in California, so I abided by the law, even though I'm shaking my head at how silly it is at the same time. So, I mean, we all go through whatever hoops we go through, but people like Dylan Roof, to me, they're not going to care about these little loopholes, and as long as guns exist out there, it's not going to stop them. It's this kind of law, even with or without the loophole, isn't going to put a stop to this kind of thing.
I absolutely agree with you.
All right, and I think we have full agreement on that. And for more on guns and gun violence and the possible reasons behind it, check out my interview with Larry Pratt, which we will, of course, post in the show notes for the show, or you can find at the archive, lionsofliberty.com/podcast. Lots of ways to find this stuff, guys. And our YouTube channel. I may as well get all our plugs in there. We got a new YouTube channel, getting some hits on there, so of course look us up on YouTube as well. Moving along, and obviously the Charleston shooting was a big deal for a lot of people. It's a very emotional, terrible incident, but we're going to look at something now that's just, I don't know, a little more comical. And this is, why don't you tell us about this pecan pie fight, which ended in a felony arrest. Tell us about the story you wrote about a few weeks ago.
Yeah, well, this is one of those stories that when you're searching for something to write about and you read the headline, you just know before you even read another word that this is something you have to write about. So this is out of Colorado, the wacky state of Colorado, Boulder, Colorado. What happened here? This situation, a little bit of road rage. This happened, as I said, 4 weeks ago? July 10th is when I wrote about it, so a little bit of time's passed. So I'm not going to go into the names and the back and forth, but there was one gentleman was driving erratically, passing cars, driving up on the shoulder of the road, and this obviously pissed off other drivers on the road. One guy got very upset and started following this guy home, and he followed him all the way to his house. The out-of-control driver gets to his house, and the guy following him gets out and happens to have a pecan pie, or pecan, I guess, depending on where you live, how you say it. I don't know. I don't eat the stuff.
Pecan. I have no idea. I don't think I've ever had a pecan in my life. I probably have.
Yeah, I'm sure you have.
I'm sure I have, but I couldn't. I could never describe the flavor of a pecan to me, or a pecan, and I still don't know how to say it. Pecan Sam, doesn't that case closed? Wasn't that the name of that one? Fruit Loops? Was he the Fruit Loops mascot? Pecan Sam?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
All right, well, we'll pick that up in a different show, I guess.
Anyway, the important thing is this guy uses a pie as a weapon. Luckily he didn't grab a gun or a knife or a bat or a club or something like that. He grabs a pie and he throws this pie at the guy he was pissed off at, the aggressive driver that was weaving. I
mean, how can I not laugh at this?
If you hear some thunder rolling outside, a little thunderstorm going on here, it's not me. I don't know.
I would kill to have a thunderstorm out here in Los Angeles. I can't remember. They do happen very rarely, but it's been probably years since I've heard thunder naturally in this state.
That's pretty weird. I don't know, but not to get off topic, but yeah.
Sometimes the earth shakes beneath us too. I mean, there's a lot of weird stuff that goes on here.
That's true. So getting back to the story, this pecan pie gets thrown about back and forth. The one guy goes over, picks up a piece of the pie, throws it back at the original thrower of the pie. I just wish I could have been a neighbor on the sideline just watching this go back and Can you imagine that? That's entertainment. I mean, I would pay money to see that probably. Not much money, maybe $5.
Whoa. This is an idea.
Okay.
Do we need to start maybe having this could be like a fundraiser, whether, not for Rand Paul, but for somebody, maybe just for us, a pecan pie fight fundraiser. See the Lions of Liberty engage in a pecan pie fight. Who wouldn't pay for that?
That actually could be a brilliant idea. Yeah. I mean, that could be. I'm not sure. It might be terrible. It might be an awful idea.
With my arm, I'll throw one from Jersey.
I mean, we need to draft some rules and some contracts up first, of course, but I don't know. I'm just as an initial idea, I'm liking it.
Maybe we could dress up as Donald Trump and Rand Paul and throw pies at each other.
A Paul Trump pie fight.
Now we're talking. All right. Tie it into the election. Tie it into our upcoming debate podcast, which I'm going to take a brief moment to plug. Next Monday's show, the next episode of this podcast you hear, will be our post-debate reaction show, where we'll be looking at the Republican debate on Fox News. Eek.
It's going to be fun.
We should get pecan pies just for sitting through this thing.
We should get something, because, well, actually, it's going to be pretty darn entertaining with Donald Trump just being ridiculous, I'm sure.
It will be.
Anyway, so, okay, after the pecan pie fight, this situation escalated pretty quickly, and the follower, the guy who followed the aggressive driver to his house, jumps on the guy and starts to actually attack him, assault him. So he drives away. The other guy calls the cops. He ends up getting arrested. At the end of this article, I kind of broke down one thing I want to talk about. Libertarians always talk about NAP, the non-aggression principle. And a lot of people, or a lot of libertarians, I should say, looking at this situation, they might say to themselves, the only violation of NAP is when the guy started assaulting the other guy. But, the way that I look at this situation, the first person to violate someone else's...
It's Toucan Sam, not Pecan Sam. Sorry, I just had a revelation. Pecan Sam. What the hell? That's why you didn't know what I was talking about, because it didn't make sense. Sorry, go on. Back to the NAP, or the nap, as you call it, which is making me want to take a nap. Go on.
That's hilarious. Okay.
Sorry, I just couldn't contain that till you even finished a sentence once I had that revelation. Anyway, back to the NAP.
So the first violation of the NAP of NAP is this aggressive driver running people off the road, driving on the shoulder. That's could be considered assault. I mean, I think so. I mean, you could end up killing someone. You could end up making them drive into a pole and get in an accident.
Yeah, it's at least attempted assault, or something. It's definitely a violation. I would agree with that.
Definitely a violation, NAP. And then the second violation would be the follower following this guy home and throwing a pie at his car.
Clearly a violation, even if it's a hilarious violation.
It could. Even though it's a pie, it could have injured him. Maybe it gets on his windshield, and then
a pecan fleck could go in your eye and blind you. For all we know,
you never know. I mean, it could have got on his windshield. He's driving home later, and he wrecks because he can't get it off. Who knows? The third one. I guess I didn't mention this before. The guy actually tried to run over the other guy with his car.
Which the guy that followed him home?
The guy that followed him home. Yeah. There's a lot going on with the pies and the running over the cars and the following, and
that I think would be another very, very clear violation of the non-aggression principle. Trying to run someone over. I think we can safely check that one off.
And then after the follower, tried to run over the aggressive driver then knocked out the other guy's taillights, which is also a violation of NAP. So if you're keeping score at home, that would be 2 for each. It's 2-2.
So they're even. So no need for further litigation here, right? We can just
no need for further litigation.
Two NAP violations each. Let's move on.
Yeah. But
maybe not.
Yeah, we can't let him get off that. I mean, the guy did, try to run him over, so that's a little bit worse.
I think we can safely say that not all violations of the non-aggression principle are equal. So while throwing a pie at someone is pretty bad, running over them is worse. And the same guy did both in this case. So he's probably the worst aggressor here, would you say?
Worst aggressor, even though he is hilarious. He's the aggressor.
He is hilarious, but at the same time, the initial aggression was not against the man, the pecan pie thrower, and he also had additional aggressions against him with the breaking of his taillights. So, which some might say was just a response to, say, the pecan pie and the attempts to run him over. So maybe it doesn't constitute aggression. I think the fourth one is the only possible questionable one. I mean, obviously, they didn't go through any sort of legal process to determine, hey, as reparations for you throwing a pie at me and trying to run me over, I get to break your taillights. I mean, so obviously that's not any sort of, anything we could call a just reciprocation, but it was maybe a response to the other previous aggressions, you might say. But then, again, so is everything.
True. I mean, you could say that, maybe breaking his taillights, that's not a proper response, but...
Kind of understandable, though. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he's trying to, I don't know. What do you do at that point? Somebody tries to run you over.
What I take from this is neither of these two people should be driving on roads, like, at all, clearly.
I'm not going to Boulder, Colorado, ever.
Yeah.
Ever. That's what I'd say.
I mean, I just hope that the sort of drug war Nazis don't get a hold of this and blame it all on pot. There's no evidence these gentlemen were high at the time, and I can actually say there's plenty of evidence that at least one of them was not, because there's no way in hell, if you're high, you're throwing your pecan pie at somebody. You are eating that thing. Fact.
That's true. And you're probably
Case
not going to
closed.
follow someone home when you're high, because it's not going to do that.
God, no. From what I've read about it anyway.
Yeah. I've read a lot about it.
All right, I think we devoted enough time to the pecan pie, so let's move along to a positive story, which I would say is at least an overall positive, though you have your criticisms of it, and that is Mr. Obama. President Obama recently came out calling for justice reform. So why don't you tell us a little bit about just what our Presidente El POTUS, who has been turning in a few good things lately now that he's a little bit more of a lame duck. Tell us a little bit more about the exact sentencing reform that he's calling for here.
Well, it's a good thing. I'm happy that President Obama is jumping on the criminal justice reform bandwagon. And one interesting note that I brought up in the article, that President Obama is the first president to tour a prison while he's in office.
That's amazing.
It is amazing. It's really hard to believe. I don't even know what else to say about it.
I mean, I guess I had never heard of a president going to a prison before, or even thinking why they would, but I mean, I think it's a fantastic move. I mean, despite what we might say that, Obama didn't go in and start repealing drug laws or anything like that, or do anything great regarding the drug war at his time in office. But if nothing else, just the fact that he did this thing, just the fact that he is visiting a prison, the source, well, or maybe just a symptom, depending on how you want to look at it, of so many problems to so many, as far as I'm concerned, innocent people. It's certainly a wonderful thing that he did this, despite all other criticisms that might come around it.
Yeah, you have to give him credit for it. And in interviews after, he even talked about how, after being in the cells, and he's being political here and trying to score points, but still he's still saying that it easily could have been him that went down that road. I mean, we all have read about and heard about Obama's past in Hawaii with the Choom Gang, or is that how you say it?
I believe that's it, the Choom Gang.
His group of friends that pretty much all they did was get high all day, every day.
Yeah, they got high, they sold weed. I mean, that's what they did.
Yeah, that's what they did.
And look at him now.
You got to give him credit for saying that could have been me. I mean, Bill Clinton said he smoked but didn't inhale, which is
obvious nonsense. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I want to, I mean, God, Obama's given me a lot of reasons to praise him this year. The Cuba thing and this. And I mean, if we don't praise people when they're doing something good, then what worth are we? Then we're just nihilists, and we just want to hate on everything. So I think it's very important. Why don't you detail a little more about some of the things that he called for too in this press conference after his visit to the prison?
Yeah, well, that's kind of where the praise goes away and kind of turns to criticism. They're not taking it as far as it needs to be taken. If President Obama was acting rationally, after realizing that could have been him and he could have been in jail, you would think that the reaction would be, well, then, people shouldn't be going to jail for these crimes. People shouldn't be locked in a cage for smoking marijuana or possessing marijuana or cocaine or heroin or whatever drug of your choice for that matter. But they're just not taking it far enough. And the legislation, it's actually bipartisan. Of course, we talked about Rand Paul's bill in the past, and there's people on the other side of the aisle on the Democratic side, and now the president is jumping in, but they're not taking it far enough, and they're not looking at it from really I don't know if the right word is to say they're looking at it from a utilitarian standpoint. Maybe they are to a degree talking about saving money in prisons and whatnot. So there probably is a little bit of that to it, but they're not looking at it from a moral standpoint. The moral standpoint of it's just flat out wrong to lock someone in a cage for completely, they're not violating the rights of anyone else. All they're doing is putting a plan in their system or doing a transaction on the black market, selling drugs for money, which is illegal. And I'm not saying that's, I'm not advising people to do that. But at the same time, that's not something you should go to jail for, in my opinion.
And I obviously agree completely. And, Obama, I believe he went on to pardon or commute the sentences of 46 different people who will be released from jail. Who are in jail long term on drug crimes, and that's certainly a positive development. And obviously this is not something he could really do politically. But if you really want to be principled, you just take an executive order and you check off everyone in there for a nonviolent drug crime and release millions overnight. Obviously, I don't expect the president to actually do something like that, but if we really wanted to be consistent, do we really need to examine the in-depth details of every single case like he has to do, in order to vet? And obviously, you got to vet people before you're going to attach your name to them and tell the world, this guy is safe. I'm going to allow his release into the world. But I don't know. Look, he's done more already than any other president on this issue, so I don't want to harp on him too much. But it's clearly not. It's not everything we might want from this thing.
Yes, something interesting maybe to watch out for in the GOP debate coming up. We've talked about in our previous presidential profile for Donald Trump and our, on the other podcast show and the feature that Brian writes, Rand pluses and minuses, how both of them, are against the drug war, and Rand Paul with his criminal justice reform legislation as well. It'll be, if a question comes up on that, it'll be really interesting to see, first of all, what Donald Trump has to say, if he still keeps pushing that line that he's really been pushing since the 90s. Not, vocally, but very vocally, but he's held that belief at least consistently. And then how far Rand Paul pushes it, because there's going to be people on stage, Chris Christie, Jeb Bush, I think Jeb Bush and Rubio have come out in favor of the drug war still. That'll be a very interesting dynamic, and I wouldn't be surprised if Fox News completely avoided it, but it'll be pretty interesting if it does come up to see where everyone falls.
How can it not be a question that comes up in the debate, the war on drugs? Especially when you have Senator Paul, who's put out legislation to try to basically, on the federal level, allow medical marijuana, which is more than any other senator I know of has ever done on this issue. So, but at the same time, we got to think, all right, this is Fox News. Are they interested in talking about the war on drugs? I don't know. To me, a question like that is only something that can make Rand Paul look good. And the other candidates look bad, unless, of course, you're one of the many people that still support the war on drugs, which is probably a large part of Fox News' audience as well. So maybe they will put those questions out there. I hope they do, because, in terms of the list of atrocities being committed by government, by the federal government, the war on drugs is probably number one as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, but I agree with you.
All right, we've spent a good amount of time talking about these couple things, so I'm not going to talk about anything else that you've written about lately. Of course, you can find John's articles, all of them, every single one of them. He's been doing for over 2 years, every single week. I still am blown away by this stat. Not missed a week in over 2 years, so find them all at lionsofliberty.com/Felony Friday. Before we sign off, I got to touch on one thing you haven't written about. Understandably, you were on vacation, but people seem pretty fired up about Cecil the Lion and this dentist that killed poor Cecil the Lion in Zimbabwe. Have you seen anything about this? Obviously, you've probably seen the memes. I don't know if you know the details. This is your first on-the-spot Felony Report moment, actually, where I'm actually asking you about something you have written nothing about, and frankly, I don't even know if you know anything about it. So
yeah, I'm familiar a little bit with it. I haven't read a whole lot about it. Probably what I know is distorted by media reporting, or just random people on Facebook ranting about it. But I guess there was one thing. Actually, I think you said on Facebook, a couple days ago, Cecil the Lion was called N52394-7 instead of Cecil the Lion, then nobody would care about Cecil the Lion.
Oh, I think that's so true. It's and also you don't have a meme on the internet with somebody. But I mean, big game hunting is huge. There are as many deaths that occur in Africa over the years. I think the big issue supposedly is that there are people that believe that his collar was tampered with because he was on an actual reserve where he was protected, but the actual shooting took place off the reserve. And some people will say, well, he's off the reserve, that's fine. And I mean, I agree, you should be allowed to kill an animal on your property. I mean, a lion's potentially a threat to someone. This was obviously a safari, not a self-defense situation. But I don't know. If there's evidence that they lured this animal off of the reserve onto property specifically to kill it, then I think there is an issue, because I do believe in, obviously we can get into real deep issues of how to find private property and legitimate ways to, acquire property. And the reserve likely wasn't acquired in legitimate ways. It was probably a government that pointed at it and said, this is a reserve. But, generally, I'm all in favor of property owners and the establishment of reserves to protect wildlife as a concept, just separated from, how that property was acquired, just as a general thing. So I think there's a decent case, some repercussions against him if they truly conspired to specifically lure this one lion, off that reserve. But to me, that seems, and I don't know all the details of this case, that seems to be more like conjecture at this point than an actual fact. But the outrage seems to be, and I just saw another meme today of they posting about Jimmy John, who is a big game hunter as well, the owner of the Jimmy John sandwiches, which I love. And and they have all these memes. Look at where your money is going. Don't support Jimmy John's. And it's just pictures of him with a couple big game trophies. So I mean, that's not even about, they lure this poor, cheetah off the reserve. Now it's becoming anyone who does big game hunting is terrible and needs to be chastised, which seems crazy to me. I mean, Are we suddenly hate hunting now? I mean,
one aspect of it that I'm really not clear on. So there's a guide in Zimbabwe that sets this up, and they probably have a website, and this guy signs up. And this guide, has to have special, permits to be able to have this hunt or have, access to land where you're allowed to hunt. So, they're assuming that this dentist was aware of this being an illegal hunt, or are they saying even if he was not aware that he should still be held accountable for being, because that's really fraud. I mean, he had fraud committed against him, right?
If he wasn't aware, yeah. I mean, I don't know the details. If he just thought he was going on the safari where he was going to get to kill a lion, and he happened to kill this one lion that they told him to kill, I mean, to me, he should have no repercussions. I mean, he was going on a safari, which, to a big game safari, which happens all over Africa. I mean, unless you want to say that big game hunting is just inherently terrible, then it's really hard for me to see why this guy is specifically evil, unless he really did conspire with the guy to specifically lure this protected animal off of the reservation. Then I think there's some case against him, but that doesn't seem to be the actual source of the outrage. It actually just seems to be the fact that he killed this lion. And again, I think it's because his name's Cecil. I mean, that's why. I mean, it's a fact that big game hunting has helped preserve species that would have otherwise died. By putting them on certain land where they can survive and attaching a price to hunt them, it actually brings in money to the community, brings in the money which helps the reserve thrive, allows the animals that are left there, because they're obviously don't just let them kill all the animals, they set a certain number of the population that they can kill. When they do that, it actually allows these species to thrive and survive, whereas if it was just sort of left to the open, anyone kill anybody, I mean, then that's when you would really see extinctions of a lot of these species. And obviously, this is not what we normally talk about, but
I think there's two aspects that have made this story kind of blow up. One thing, like you just said, Cecil the Lion, lovable name. Cecil is, you can see him in memes and whatnot. The other thing, this guy's a dentist. And everyone hates dentists.
I actually like my dentist. Dave Family, you rock. But people don't like dentists, I guess, because they associate them with bad things in their mouth. But they're just helping out.
90% of the population is anti-dentites. So that's an old Seinfeld joke.
It is. And if there's no better way to end a show than with the term anti-dentite, as far as I'm concerned. So we will wrap things up. We'll try to do this a little more often. But, hey, guys, we're real people with real lives. Sometimes it takes us 6 weeks to get the Felony Report together. But, John, you just came back from vacation. You're getting right into the swing of things because you're here with me on the Felony Report. And then we're going to get right into the Republican debate. So are you looking forward to this? Why don't we hype this up a little bit for the people? What are we gonna see here in these upcoming Republican debates?
God only knows. It's going to be, with Donald Trump involved, it's going to be a show. I mean, it might be completely out of control. They might talk about none of the issues. but it'll be entertaining. And, you're going to want to tune in for our review of it, our podcast of it, because no matter what they say, even if it gets wacky and crazy, we're going to take it back and relate it to the issues and talk about the issues and how they're maybe avoiding talking about some of the most important things like the drug war or maybe some aspects of foreign policy and whatnot. But I'm excited. I say that I'm not really into politics, and I'm really not into the actual legislation and advancing liberty that way. I'll support good legislation and whatnot, but I do like watching a good, entertaining debate. And as you know, I'm a big fan of, or was a big fan of, Herman Cain last year. And
oh, Herman. Not for his policies, but boy, oh boy, for his random things he'd say in music videos and commercials. And
yeah, not for his policies at all, just for his insanity. And I'm a fan of Donald Trump's insanity, so I'm looking forward to seeing it.
All right. And of course, like I said, we're going to have that up on this coming Monday's podcast. That'll be episode 130. But we're going to do our best to turn this thing around pretty quickly. So if you go to our YouTube channel, this is the time you can get a little preview. We're hoping to have this show up sometime on Friday. So if you go and subscribe to our YouTube channel, just look us up on YouTube. That's how you find it. Or we'll link to it in the show notes of this show, lionsofliberty.com/129. You'll be some of the first people to hear our post-Republican debate reaction show, because it'll be there a couple days before it's on iTunes for your listening pleasure. So be sure to check that out. Be sure to keep coming back to Felony Friday, lionsofliberty.com/Felony Friday, where you can find John's articles each and every week. And of course, we'll be doing more of these felony reports. We're going to be doing plenty more podcasts going forward. We're just not going to stop, basically, until we die, I guess, right? That's the plan. So
until we die.
Until then, hopefully we won't die between now and then. Until then, John, why don't you join me? Why doesn't everybody out there live long and live free?
Till we die. That's going to be our new slogan. We're going to get T-shirts made up.
I wonder if Cecil was a lion of liberty, or if he was just a regular lion. That dentist killed liberty.
All right, see you, man.
Peace.